Okay, we're back with another Killshot breakdown with Clint Adams. He had an awesome sheep one a while ago, and now he's got is this an Alaskan Moose that you submitted?
This is Alaskan Moose, about 20 miles away from where the sheep hunt went down.
Cool. Looks like a great moose, but it's also got a kind of a compelling story, and I'm sure it's going to get a lot of attention when it airs.
Yeah. And again, if you listen to the sheep one, again, this is a 6.5 Creedmoor. It's the same gun, and I debated long and hard on what caliber to bring to Alaska for a moose hunt. And I don't think 6.5 Creedmoor is the right choice for your typical guy that's going to go on a hunt like this. I'll disclaimer that with that. Unless you've shot thousands of rounds and know your gun, your ballistics, and can follow up fast. And even I had a hard time on this one seeing where my bullet was hitting. I know every single one of them hit, but I couldn't see it. And until the spotter, which is the packer, every moose hunt, you have a packer there typically if you're on a guided hunt because the pack outs are miserable. After the fourth shot, he finally told me where I had hit. And so then I knew what my hold was and just pumped a few more right in the kill basket. But yeah, so the setup on this one is a little different. I had a tripod. I'm actually on a really steep mountainside, and this moose is right below us. This is 585 yards, and we've been set up on him for about 4 hours because we saw the cows, we heard raking, and a small moose had walked out. But yeah, so right at dusk, we see this guy walk out, and he turns broadside. And so I have my tripod, and I can get pictures of it or whatnot. But it's funny because I'm having to extend one leg super far down and get the other two extended out. So my gun's locked into it with an archer rail, and then I'm using a trekking pole, my trekking pole in the ground as rear support, and I'm clamping my butt of my gun against that trekking pole for my position for this shot. Getting prone or shooting off a backpack, there's just no option for that. So just because of the steepness of the hill I was on. So I was sitting and with my gun in front of me. It was actually an amazing position, one we practiced quite a bit for these competitions, so it came in really handy on this one.
What bullet were you using for the moose on your Creedmoor?
The same, the 147 ELDM match, factory ammo. I could hand reload it and get 200 or 300 more feet per second, but that Hornady match 147 ammo is so good, and the SDs, the standard deviations, the spread from shot to shot on velocity is so low that it's such a good bullet, and that I don't waste time reloading for hunting.
Yeah. So your setup, how far away are you on the moose?
This was 585.
And so before we get into, I want you to kind of walk through these shots with us, but what's kind of tell us about the camp and where you're at. It's because it's similar, I'm sure it's back in the stick somewhere. And
yeah, this one weight wasn't as big. We never moved camp. You don't want to kill a moose much further than 2 miles. If you get even further than a mile from camp, like the guides and the packers are like, nah, like we're not doing this. And so, which I can talk about the background stuff if you want, people are interested. But this was the second day of the hunt. You fly in, you can't hunt the day you fly. We thought we saw some moose where it was probably 3 or 4 miles downriver when we were flying in, and it was a good sized moose. And so I was like, well, that's the one we'll go after. And he's like, 4 miles away? Heck no, we're never going after that thing. And I'm like, really? I'm like, okay. And so we thought we saw some cows when we flew in as well, like 400 yards from camp, up above camp. So we wake up, we go set up above him, and he calls for about 2 hours, and I'm set up, and nothing happened. So then we just hiked, mid-mountain of these big basins, just hiking across and glassing into anything. And it's funny because when you get that high up above in Alaska, looking down, it looks like you should see a moose, like no problem. But these alders and stuff are 8 feet tall. Where that moose is, that grass is 4.5 feet tall right here. And so those moose just disappear. So as it was getting golden hour in the evening, you start seeing moose. So there's one 1,000 yards away. It's like, holy cow, I can barely even see that thing. That's crazy. It looks like you should be able. So anyway, this guy stands up. We'd been hiking across, and then you have these big waterfall canyons, and so you got to go down them and across them. So again, we've been hiking a little over 2 miles to where we saw these cows, and then we heard this raking. So we just sat down, and we're like, we're gonna wait this out. There's got to be a big bull where there's 2 or 3 cows at the peak of the rut. This was September 27th, 28th of last year. And so where there's cows, there's going to be a big bull this time of year. And so we just set up. We initially set up at 730, and we hadn't even seen this bull yet. And I'm like, let's get close. There's no reason. Like, we got time. And so we sneak down this hill and get to 580. Getting any close, we could have, but 100 yards didn't seem like it made that big a difference. So he stands up. The original video was about 2.5 minutes long, and until he kind of turns, we were just sitting and talking. And yeah, so the first shot on this guy.
What we'll do is we'll watch the whole till the end, and then we'll come back and break down each shot. Perfect. So where did you decide? I mean, there's always that big shoot him in the neck, shoot him in the goodies, shoot him. Like, were you trying to break the leg or shoot it right behind the leg? Like
just right behind the shoulder. I just wanted to put big moose lungs. You got big targets. That was my goal, was right behind that front shoulder. And that first shot, actually, there was more wind than I thought, and it pushed. It was a left to right wind, so it hits him a little far back, and that's why his hindquarters and his back kind of crumples. And you can see it hit him. It hits him just a little far back. And the unfortunate thing is I couldn't see that. In this video and watching it back, you can see it. But in real time, I couldn't see that.
Dude, they're all right there. I mean, it's crazy.
So, but that one's still a little far back, and so the first one. And so then I was like just making it on the fly. Like, okay, that was your first shot. You get do a different hold. With the background of shooting competitions, I was like, well, I'm going to give it a little bit more wind. And so I aimed more like up above his front leg and towards his neck. And then that one hit, and nobody saw that one either. And so I was just kind of aiming between those areas to play for the wind. I wasn't sure exactly what it was doing. But by the fourth, it's either the third or the fourth shot, you hear the guy that's actually videoing this. He's the packer that's with us. And he says, yeah, that one was right behind the shoulder. And so then for me, I was like, okay, I knew exactly what my hold was. The wind was consistent and just sent 4 more right in him. And again, this is the same concept as the sheep. This moose was dead after 2 or 3 shots.
Yeah,
but again, I knew I was shooting a smaller caliber. Like, I took all that into consideration. And so I just kept shooting while he's standing there. And it's funny, you actually hear the guide say, well, you're shooting a BB gun. Keep shooting.
But it's even this first shot, you can't really see the impact. I mean,
you can see his fur kind of ruffle right behind.
A little bit, but not much.
Right in his stomach back there.
And then he's like, you can tell.
Yeah.
He's like, uh-oh, and then.
The only bullet I can't see is that third one. I've slowed it down and watched it 100 times, and that third one, it does hit him right just a little back, not far. I think it's still hitting. Oh, there. You see his fur ripple right there?
Yeah, that was pretty far back, but
yeah,
lucky he didn't take off. And then here's the third one. Third one's right behind the shoulder.
See that third one? That's the hardest one to see, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then you see 4, 5, 6, 7 are just right in the boiler room.
Yeah, right there, man. You can see that little tuft when it hits. Just boom.
Yeah, right. Those two hit right next to each other.
I mean, I don't know how you put it any better. So that's 4. This is 5. It's amazing how they just absorb it. I mean, that's 5.
They do, and this guy, he's like, I've seen guys shooting 375 H&H's from 100 yards, and the moose act the exact same way.
Yeah.
So, would a bigger caliber been better? Absolutely. In the terms of, the spotter seeing it, again, me at 580 shooting off a tripod, would I have seen it? No. So now I'm trusting a spotter to tell me where to correct or what to do.
And even 6 is money. What were you thinking by the time 6 hits? Were you just in?
I'm a hunter and a shooter, so you pay to be here, and you take all this time and effort and flying and the logistics of getting back into this country. like shooting, I'm a shooter too. So like just to get these rounds in it and secure that you got to hit. As long as he's standing there and he's up, I'm gonna keep dumping.
I mean, look at 7. I think that's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, this is 7 right there, dude.
Yeah, 7's right.
God.
Literally, I think shots 4 through 7 were all right there. And then as he's starting to go, I shoot again, and I think I hit him in the back. Like you see that kind of.
He falls kind of right when you shoot.
Like it gets there and it kind of goes off of his back. I think that's hair going off his back, not the willows in the background. I mean, you get down there and that grass is 5 feet tall. You don't see your bullet going into that grass at all.
But again, and this is what I get a lot of crap on the page because people wanted me to just show the ethical one shot he drops and dead. But this is real hunting. I mean, it's not, nobody prefers this, but these animals, you're not shooting a target. It's amazing. You got a whole bunch right in the goodies, and that thing is still just, you don't know what's going on. You don't know if he's gonna take off on you and you get in those bushes and might lose him.
Yeah, and that's why I keep dumping shots into him. I will be the first to admit I don't think 6.5 Creedmoor is the caliber to take on a moose hunt. Right. I was very curious, and to me, being able to see my shot and know where I hit it myself and be able to correct on any wind calls or anything like that, that's just as important as that one shot. And I haven't seen a lot of moose hunts actually where guys are shooting 300 Win Mags or WSMs or anything where you get a one shot, just potato sack them.
Well, and I agree with you. In my opinion, my hunting experience and all the years guiding is if you're comfortable with the caliber and you're more accurate and it's lesser than preferred. I mean, it's the whole Ford Chevy thing, but I would rather have more accuracy and shot placement than
I literally built a 300 PRC for this hunt. I spent a lot of money building a 300 PRC for this exact hunt. And when I took a 7 SOM, which everybody, like, that's I think the hunting caliber of choice with a lot of professional shooters and hunters is a 7 SOM. The 7 PRC just came out, which is similar. But so I took that, I did a 6.5 Creed, 6.5 PRC, 7 SOM, and a 300 PRC, and shot them all right back to back. And that 300 PRC hits so hard. Like I'm shooting still at 400 yards and shaking it off the T-post. But when I came down to accuracy and flinching, I had a flinch when I shot that gun. I'm like waiting for it to go off just because it has so much kick and recoil that for me to really bear down and watch my shot and follow through. And so I think that's a big thing that a lot of people don't talk about when they're shooting big calibers is it can be the most accurate gun ever. But right before you pull that trigger, you anticipate and you jerk like that. Now you shoot him in the ass. So you shoot him and that's a bigger problem than hit him a little far back with a 6.5.
This year I took my 12-year-old boy's first year to Colorado on a late season elk, and I have a 28 Nosler and the Christensen, the titanium. Mm-hmm. So, but it rocks him so hard. I mean, we can shoot out if we need to, but so he's so trigger shock. Or I guess it would be recoil shock. There's no way, and so we shot a lesser, a little more comfortable gun for him, and we're max at 500. And the long range debates, it's all that's another conversation. But that's what was our choice. I'm like, and the problem is we seen a great bull, we couldn't, he just was too far out, so the whole time you're like, man, if we only would have brought that. But I would rather have him, you'd rather try and be more comfortable and be accurate than just blast him.
Well, and the whole long range debate thing, I get it, but when you're talking to somebody and I feel like they truly know what they're doing and have had experience, they can say, I have all the ability in the world to make this 700-yard shot or 600-yard shot, but the conditions and the wind, like if wind's changing from a 2 mile an hour to a 5 mile an hour, understanding what that's going to do to your bullet and saying, I can make this shot all day in ideal conditions. These aren't ideal. I need to get to 250 or 300. And that's why I didn't shoot at this moose at even 700. That's a giant target. Yeah. But I'm like, we got to get closer.
Yeah, people
now I'm at 580. I'm comfortable. The wind is minimal. It's 1 to 3, so it's not going to shift me too much. So, those are the things that make a good long-range hunter is knowing their equipment and then knowing the conditions, not just lobbing lead down range.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that statement, man. Well, hey, Clint, thanks for coming on with another great clip, man. I love them. I think it's going to be awesome. Appreciate you coming on the breakdown.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Yeah, so if you guys want to submit your videos beyond, just DM us on Instagram or Facebook, Killshot Central, or you can email us at killshotcentral@gmail.com and get a hold of us, and maybe we'll have you on. So thanks again for your time, man.
Thanks.